Call the meeting to order of the Wilmington City Council. I'd like to welcome all those who are with us here this evening and all those who are watching us at home. Thank you for taking an interest in your government. At this time, I'd like to introduce Chaplain Leona Jones of the Wilmington Police Department for our invocation and ask that everyone stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain Jones.
Let us pray. Gracious Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you're doing in this great city. We ask that you keep this city safe. Father, we just thank you for all you are doing. We asking that you govern the people of the city to make the right decision, that it will be done in a decent order. We give you honor and glory. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have several presentations this evening. Our first presentation, and I would like to recognize Chief Donnie Williams to join us for this, is the presentation of Life-Saving Award to Corporal Cordelia Barksdale and Officer Daniel Ellers. I believe that the entire City Council will meet us up front. Come on, guys. These two officers that we're recognizing this evening are outstanding members of the Wilmington Police Department, and they did a tremendous service for our community in saving two people's lives that we would like to share with the community. And they will be receiving this award this evening from the Chief of Police and from the entire City Council. So we thank you for your public service to this great community. On November the 13th, 2024, Officer Daniel Ellers responded to an address on Carolina Beach Road in response to a distraught man who had stabbed himself in the abdomen with a knife. Officer Ellers quickly determined that he needed to act quickly. The man was in danger of dying if he did not receive aid immediately. Officer Ellers forced open the door, called for EMS, and rendered aid until their arrival. The swift actions of Officer Ellers helped to save the citizen's life. These actions are within the finest traditions of the Wilmington Police Department and warrant him a life-saving award. Thank you for taking such brave and heroic actions. Thank you. On February the 22nd, 2025, Corporal Barksdale was working the Wilmington Marathon. One of the runners at that marathon suffered a cardiac event and fell. Corporal Barksdale quickly responded and called for EMS. While EMS was en route, Corporal Barksdale and several other citizens, including a nurse and a doctor, began CPR and gave chest compressions until Riceville Beach Fire and Novot EMS arrived. Once paramedics were on the scene, they took over in chest compressions and delivered multiple AED shocks. Ultimately, all the life-saving measures were successful. The quick actions of Corporal Barksdale, the citizens, Riceville Beach Fire, and Novot EMS all contributed to saving the patient's life. For her part, Corporal Barksdale's actions are in the finest tradition of the Wilmington Police Department and warrant her a life-saving award. Corporal Barksdale, congratulations and thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the tremendous service to our community. Thank you very much. And to all the men and women of the Wilmington Police Department, thank you.
Thank you.
This time I'd like to recognize Otis White, the past commander of the Cape Fear Power Squadron, proclamation naming May 17th through the 23rd, 2025 as Safe Boating Week. Come on up, guys. It's that time of year.
Already.
Good to see you, Mayor.
Good seeing you too. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Well, it's that time of year, and I know how important this is to you folks and everything that you do out there to protect our citizens. And the proclamation reads from the city of Wilmington, whereas North Carolina has 5,000 miles of water shoreline and 361,000 registered boaters in this state alone, and whereas boating and fishing are one of the state's most popular year-round activities, and whereas on average 630 people in the U.S. each year are dead in boating-related accidents, and approximately 80% of those fatalities are caused by drowning. And whereas in approximately 86% of drowning cases, the victim was not wearing a life jacket. And whereas it is apparent that wearing a life jacket is the single most important factor in reducing boating-related deaths. And whereas the National Safe Boating Council, supported by the U.S. Coast Guard and other national organizations, has set May 17th through the 25th, 2025 as National Safe Boating Week. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Wilmington City Council, I, Bill Saffo, Mayor of the City of Wilmington, do hereby support the efforts of the Cape Fear Sail and Power Squadron and the National Safe Boating Council and proclaim May 17th through the 25th, 2025 as Safe Boating Week in the City of Wilmington and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe boating and urge all persons to wear a life jacket at all times while boating. And although they say we have 361,000 registered boaters, it seems like a lot of them are here if you get out on the intercoastal waterway. So I just want to say thank you for all your volunteer efforts in keeping our boaters safe. So I know that you have a few words for our community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mayor, Council. Each year we come and we try and get folks to wear their life jackets. Of the 20 people that lost their lives last year in this area, 80% of them drowned. How many of you are boat owners? Do you wear your life jacket when you go out on the boat? It's a good idea. When you get in your car and you start driving, I know you all put on your seatbelts, because when you're having an accident, it's too late to put on your seatbelt. And the same is true for boats. So please, wear it when you go out on the water. The Cape Fear Sail and Power Squadron next year turns 75 years old. We've been doing this for a very long time. Our goals are vessel safety inspections, where we can help you find out if you have all the right equipment to get through a Coast Guard check. We also offer boating classes that folks can attend and learn more about the boats they've just bought, and how to keep them up and how to make them run well and how to boat safely. So, Mayor, again, thank you so much for your support.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Is Tom Gill here? Tom? There you go. Tom is the chair of the Workforce Housing Advisory Committee. We have a proclamation here. Proclamations from the City of Wilmington, whereas the Fair Housing Act enacted on April the 11th, 1968 was adopted to prohibit discriminatory housing practices, undo racial segregation patterns, and provide equal access to housing opportunities for all. And whereas each year since the enactment of the National Fair Housing Law, the federal government has designated April as Fair Housing Month. And whereas in Wilmington, the combined federal, state, and local civil rights laws protect people from housing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, and familial status. And whereas as a community, we understand that economic progress and competitiveness is best served by promoting diverse, inclusive communities with equal access to good jobs, schools, healthcare, transportation, and housing. And whereas Fair Housing Month is an opportunity to reflect on our progress and to acknowledge the remaining challenges we have yet to overcome. And whereas the joint City of Wilmington, New Hanover County Workforce Housing Committee is tasked with support for increased equitable access and the supply of workforce housing that is affordable, and has identified fair housing as a key issue needing further attention in our community. Whereas we celebrate the passage of the Fair Housing Act, let us recommit ourselves to eliminating discrimination in housing by dismantling the barriers to housing choice, acknowledging the intersection of health, economic, and housing inequities, dedicating resources to meaningful address disparities, adopting policies to support our community's most vulnerable residents, measuring the impacts of our efforts, and creating more housing that welcomes and celebrates people of all abilities, races, cultures, and incomes. Now, therefore, I, Bill Safford, Mayor of the City of Wilmington, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Fair Housing Month, the City of Wilmington. And I just want to say to the committee and all the hard work that you folks do to give us more options and look at things that we can bring more housing and fair housing to our community. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the entire City Council. So thank you very much. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our consent agenda. We have items C1 through C8B. What are the wishes of council in respect to the consent agenda? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our public information segment. Public information segment is for 30 minutes. Each speaker will be allotted 5 minutes to speak. The clerk will be keeping the time. When you hear the buzzer go off, then you know that your time is up. So our first speaker tonight is Ms. Cassie Payton, who will talk to us about Support Group Initiative. Ms. Payton? Is Ms. Payton here? Okay. Our next speaker is Ms. Sarah Moxley, who will be talking to us about tax dollar allocation. Ms. Moxley, welcome.
Good evening, council members. When I was in 8th grade, I got a perfect score on my end-of-year state test in government class. I remember learning that our government is by the people, for the people. I learned that we have representatives, even at the city level, to make sure our voices are heard. All we had to do was show up and speak out. So, here I am. I've been to almost every city council meeting for the past year. I am doing my part as an engaged citizen. And here we are, all the people you see behind me holding signs, showing up, engaging in local government, because we are holding on to some small hope that this government can actually be what we were told it is, a democracy. We are begging you to hear us tonight. My name is Sarah Moxley. I've lived in Wilmington for 6 years. I'm a community worker, a neighbor, and a taxpayer. In 2024 alone, we as Wilmington residents paid $9,074,781 in federal tax money to fund Israel's weapons. That's money taken from our paychecks, money that could have gone to fair and affordable housing, education, healthcare, or food security right here in our city. Instead, it's gone to fund a military campaign that the United Nations has described as a humanitarian catastrophe. To put that in perspective, $9,074,781 could have funded 203 new Hanover County teacher positions for 1 year. Last year, 279 teacher positions were cut in our county due to lack of funding. Instead of investing in our children, we're investing in bombs. Meanwhile, more than 50,400 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed and over 114,000 others injured, according to the United Nations. This is not a conflict. This is a massacre, and it's being funded by us. We are asking you, as our elected leaders, to take every action within your power to speak out and push back. Specifically, we urge you to, 1, pass a resolution or make a public statement calling on the U.S. government to end military funding to Israel. And 2, use your platform to put pressure on North Carolina state and federal representatives to oppose that funding. We know that city councils don't control federal policy, but you can influence it. As I was taught in 8th grade, your voice is the representation of our voices. Please use it to reflect the will of your constituents. We want to see our public resources used for the benefit of our community, not weapons. You don't have to agree with us on every detail of the situation, but let me ask you this. Do you believe in human rights? Because opposing the use of U.S. taxpayer money to fund a military campaign that has leveled hospitals, bombed refugee camps, and killed over 50,000 civilians, that is the bare minimum. That is not radical. That is human. Our tax dollars are funding weapons for a country that has, again, blocked all humanitarian aid entering Gaza since March 2nd, 2025. UNICEF currently, right now, has thousands of pallets of aid waiting to enter Gaza. Regional UNICEF director said, instead of saving lives, this aid is sitting in storage. Allowing it in is not a choice or charity, it is an obligation under international law. So I ask you, City Council, should our tax dollars be funding weapons for a country that is violating international humanitarian law? Israel has also blocked fuel and electricity, resources that are essential to operate water plant infrastructure. Isn't access to water a basic human right? This is a military funded by our tax dollars using overwhelming force on a civilian population that has nowhere safe to go. And we, as Wilmington citizens, are funding it. So, do you believe in human rights? If you do, then you have a responsibility to act. I'm not asking you to solve the entire conflict. I'm asking you to take a stand for basic human rights, to say, we do not support Wilmington taxpayer money funding weapons to a government that bombs children in refugee camps. Let the answer to that question, do you believe in human rights, be loud and clear and backed by action. Because if you say yes, but do nothing, then what do you really believe? Thank you.
Next speaker is Ms. Yasmin Bratcher. Ms. Yasmin Bratcher will also be talking to us about tax dollar allocation. Ms. Bratcher, welcome.
In 2024 alone, over $9 million of federal taxes.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you just pull the microphone down so we can hear you? Thank you.
I thought I was taller than that, sorry.
Thank you, it's okay.
In 2024 alone, over $9 million of federal taxes from Wilmington residents were spent on Israel's weapons. We've been talking to Wilmingtonians about the needs we have right here at our home in our community for our $9 million annual subsidy to Israeli genocide. A few of my friends are going to help me convey what these needs are through song. Here's a copy of the lyrics for the club.
Next speaker is Mr. Glenn Wells, who'll be speaking to us about modified exhaust on vehicles concerning meetups. Mr. Wells?
My name is Glenn Wells. I live in the Sea Spray landing area, Sea Spray HOA. I'm here to speak on behalf of, I'm the president of the Sea Spray HOA, and I'm speaking also on behalf of Doug Wells, who is no relations, but he is the vice president of the Kentwood HOA. A week ago from this past Saturday, there was some type of meetup with all of these cars, loud cars in Mayfair. I was working in my backyard. Finally, just at 2 o'clock, about 4 or 5 o'clock, I went inside. I couldn't handle it anymore. And my house was a mile away from where they gathered at Dick's Sporting Goods and Marshall's. I finally got so tired of it, I drove down to actually see it. And there were, at 8 o'clock at night, there were still 10 or 15 cars there. There were 2 Wilmington police cars there. There was Mayfair security there. One of the stores was in fear for their customers and felt their customers were being intimidated by all these cars out in the parking lot. And I spoke with one of the officers, very nice young man, and I said, you know, that Wilmington has a modified exhaust ordinance. And he said, I know we do. He said, but I'm not a car expert. He said, I can't enforce that. He said, I simply just can't enforce that because I can't crawl under the car. I don't have permission to lift the hood up. And so we left it at that, and I went home. This past Monday, a week ago, I went to the Mayfair offices in Mayfair and spoke with the general manager there and the leasing manager there, and they were unaware of what was going on. They assured me this was not a Mayfair-sponsored event. It was just a meetup, I guess they call it. And they said that they were concerned and they would look into it and see what they can do. When I talked to the young police officer, everybody's young to me now, he said the best thing Mayfair could do was trespass them, and then the police could do something. But I don't think Mayfair security that night had the ability to say they could trespass. So I'm here tonight on behalf of Sea Spray Landing. You guys took a lot of time and came up with a noise ordinance, music noise ordinance on bars and how far it reaches neighborhoods. This is something, when they're running from the overpass there, it goes over Military Cutoff Extension. It's gotten a lot worse since the extension was put in. Not criticize the extension, I'm criticizing the people that have these cars. But they get on top of that, and they see the green light at Military Cutoff and Gordon Road. They gun it and see how many green lights they can get down Military Cutoff. In the state's wisdom, when they took the land from Sea Spray Landing to 4-lane Military Cutoff, they said there was no need for any type of sound barrier for Military Cutoff, even though they took the land all the way up to the individual owner's property line. So in retrospect, that's a huge mistake. But I'm here tonight to ask you guys if you could talk to your attorneys, maybe some other city councils. We got a lot of brain power up here in front of me, and see if you could come up with an ordinance that's enforceable. You know, some type of decibels. If a car is over so many decibels, the police officers probably have decibel meters because of all the music venues and everything. But I just wanted to make you aware of it. It's not fair to, this affects far more people up and down there than these bars and music venues do. You're a small area compared to 3 or 4 miles of Military Cutoff. So I'm just here to make you aware of it, to ask you if you could look into it for us and see if you could come up with something that would help. Thank you.
Thank you. And to Mr. Wells' point, I've been getting these kind of calls from other parts of the community where they're meeting up at gas stations, the mall, and different areas where there's maybe 30, 40 cars.
Yes, it's 30 or 40 cars.
Maybe larger than that. But Meredith, can we look at that? Because that is becoming an issue that I'm beginning to hear around the community. They're getting up and down the highway, and they're doing exactly what he just said, and they're trying
There were at least 30 or 40
Yeah,
cars
yeah.
there. At 8 o'clock at night, there were still 10 or 15
I
cars.
just want to see what we can do from an ordinance point of view. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Okay. Our next speaker is Ms. Kristen Morgan, who will be speaking to us about the impact of genocide on education in Wilmington.
Hello. Over the last week, we have talked with Wilmingtonian residents about the $9 million of our taxpayer money that is used to go to Israel and fund their genocide. And we've asked people to imagine what they might like to use this money for. To be clear, this is federal taxpayer money, but it's a significant amount that comes from New Hanover County. And also our port's #1 export is explosive munitions. The #1 destination is Israel. This is a local issue. So people felt very strongly about this, and I just wanted to share with y'all tonight some of the things that people wrote that they think this money could be better used in our community. Railway system, more green and community spaces, disaster relief, student resources, lots of pictures on this one, textbooks, computers, disability health care, Just give the money back to the citizens. More trees, special needs programs, housing and caring about the homeless. How about a water park? A more robust transport system. This one, more artificial wreaths with lit lilies. Better use of the money. Fix the pools and the skate park. Public transportation for a safer and more accessible city. Arts programs. Higher teacher pay. Pay the teachers what they deserve. Undocumented immigrants, for or against, I don't know. We could spend our money better. Housing cooperative. Healthcare, public schools, and fixing the roads and infrastructure. Sidewalks in our neighborhoods. Public transportation. Funding to increase the infrastructural accessibility of the city. Affordable healthcare. Safe and accessible pedestrian paths and sheltered bus stops. More green spaces in our city. Maybe we could buy our hospital back and kick out Novant. Food-producing public parks. More public transportation. Build greenways over major roadways. Healthcare for everyone. Feeding our people. Public housing. Food desert relief. Job training programs. Harm reduction initiatives. Housing. Flowers and community gardens. More museum funding. Housing for artists. More food. Fund housing grants for at-risk folks or funding education opportunities. Accessible public transit, safe walking spaces. One-way ticket to Mars for Elon. Prevention programs for youth and families. The #1 export out of Wilmington should be peace and not weapons. Provide help for our homeless community, investing in recovery and rehabilitation. More land for our schools, community gardens and pollinator gardens instead of paying for people to mow the government-owned grass. Buy land and build parks. Cleaning up the PFAS in our waters, mental health response care, mass transit, low-income housing, anything but this war. Education and infrastructure. I would fund education and updating infrastructure, mental health care, municipal worker salaries, housing for the underserved, fixing the bus system and paying for transportation workers. These are just a few. This is money that we could use here. This is why we're asking for you right now, when we know that the federal government is being irresponsible and is cutting everything but the war budget. The people of Wilmington don't want their money spent in this way. And we're asking you, as our representatives, to just say something about it. Cost nothing. It costs nothing for the city of Wilmington to say this does not represent our city. We want to export peace and not bombs. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker this evening is Mr. Daquan Lano Norman, who will be speaking to us about voice opinion/concerns. Is Mr. Norman here? Mr. Norman? Okay. All right. And then I think that we have also Mr. Walker. We have a recognition. Mr. Spears?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if you'll allow me to do this real briefly. I want to recognize Frank Walker and his family for his 80th birthday that'll happen on this Friday. So, Mr. Walker and his family and friends, will you please come up?
Make sure it turns green. Yeah, go ahead.
Come on.
Good afternoon, sir.
Trying to hurry up and get you out of here. Let it be known that I, Kevin Spears, on behalf of the Wilmington City Council, officially honors Frank Walker for achieving the milestone of his 80th birthday and for many years of compassionate and caring service to his family and community. Strong communities, stop Frank, are built on a foundation of individuals who display devotion and caring for the well-being of their fellow man. Frank Walker has contributed admirably to his community for the past 80 years. Therefore, we gratefully present this recognition on this occasion of his 80th birthday. Thank you, Mr. Walker. You want to say something?
Thank God for this opportunity to come before your presence once more. And I'm not going to stand up here long, and I don't want to do it by myself because I got some person that need to stand with me. Some are missing right now. But two of my co-workers and my co-worker mother sitting out there. I'm looking for Sister Spicy Sidbury. She disappeared on me. And I'm looking for the chief of police, Donnie Williams, that came up in our neighborhood like this fella right here. And it's a blessing to know that they made a difference in other people's lives the way somebody made it in my life. And that's what it is, it's passing around. 80 years is nothing to talk about, but as we walk this life, we got to make a difference with someone. Now, this sister sitting right here taught my son in high school. When her son was born, Emerson, and I taught him. That's the way life is. So God wants us to do good for one another. It's not about me, but it's about the community walking together, walking this one. And I thank God for the blessings and opportunity to come before your presence. You can't do all the talking your way.
Thank you, Frank. Wait, you got to get a picture. Thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, our next item of business are public hearings. Item PH1 is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish a dwelling at 613 South 14th Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing their notice be placed thereon, prohibiting its use or occupancy. This time I'd like to recognize the city manager, Mr. Caudle. Mr. Caudle.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Brian Renner, our Chief Code Enforcement Officer, will overview this item for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. The first property we're going to talk about tonight is 613 South 14th Street. It's just under 1,000 square feet, single-family house built in the 1920s. It is still currently occupied by a tenant, and the owner is Eric Anthony Clayette. He lives in New York. This is a view from South 14th Street. So this case began back in August of 2021. It's from an officer's observation as to the condition of the property. As you'll see, the roof is tarped. It, as I said, was occupied and is occupied by a tenant. We took this to Housing Code hearing in February 2024. No one attended that hearing. The order to repair was issued in March and expired in June of 2024. Since the hearing, it is still tenant occupied. Up to this point, there have been no efforts to repair aside from the tenant's efforts that you'll see in the photos to repair some of the ceiling from the water intrusion, and he's temporarily sealed the roof from leaking. And we did finally hear back from the owner today after about a year and a half of him not responding to us, saying that he is hiring contractors to make repairs, and that should be underway in the next couple of weeks. The tax value of this building, 2024 tax value is $36,400. Our estimated cost to repair at that time was $24,821, which was 68%, which is dilapidated by the city's minimum housing code. That's the section outlined within the findings of fact that was issued. So here's some photos. As I said, we do have some roof issues. This is a shingled roof. It was leaking. As I said, the occupant did some patching on the roof. We have rotten fascia around the chimney. This is the back side. Those steps would require a handrail as with that porch. We do have some more rotten wood around the back of the house. And as I said, the roof is not meeting minimum housing standards. We do also have some foundation issues. Inside, a lot of peeling paint, a lot of water damage over the years that have been crudely patched. In the kitchen, there is a section of rotten floor. The heat in this place, the tenant says it works, but he doesn't turn it on because it makes his electric bill go through the roof. So he, during the winter time when this case was initiated, was using space heaters to heat the unit. And underneath that water heater, that floor is pretty rotted. And here's just some photos of some of the crude patching that he's had to do from the roof leaking. And I would note that the tenant is an 81-year-old gentleman. We spoke with him today, so I don't believe he's here or he intends to come tonight. We have worked pretty hard to connect him with every resource we could think of, from legal aid to housing services to social services. We've pulled out all the stops and done everything we can to connect him. And just here's some more damage from water intrusion and then also just deferred maintenance. So our initial recommendation on this is 30 days to vacate if the repairs are not immediately underway, and then 90 days for the owner to repair this or demolish it. If the owner does not do it within that time frame, we will proceed with additional civil citations against the owner. We've currently issued about $19,000 in civil citations to the owner in an attempt to motivate compliance. So I'm here if there's any questions, but our recommendation is to pass this ordinance so we can hold the owner accountable if he doesn't follow through.
Okay, are there any questions from Seth? Sir, Mr. Rivenbark, and then Mr. Barnett.
When you say the gentleman called you today,
He responded to an email today, yes.
did you by any chance ask him why it took him a year and a half to call you?
I did not. I was just surprised to hear from him, but also that's also why we use this process. It tends to motivate compliance.
Are there all utilities connected to the house?
Yes, all utilities are connected to the house.
Okay, and the tenant is in there now?
Correct.
Okay, does he have any plans in the event that he has to vacate where he's going?
We've worked with him to develop that plan, to know that that is a possibility. We have provided him with every referral we could from the social workers at Good Shepherd to COC, Continuum of Care, to APS. We've really tried to connect him with every resource in the community so that they can help him develop a plan if he does need to leave.
Is he related to the owner?
He is not. It's my understanding that he's a longtime family friend. This house used to be owned by the owner's parents. And it's my understanding he's also lived in this house for several years, if not decades.
Okay. And he pays rent?
The last I spoke with him, he stopped paying rent about the time we started our case, and we issued our order to repair, and the owner refused to repair and stopped talking to him as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Most of my questions were asked by Councilman Rivenbark, but I do have one additional question. You said you're working with the occupant. Do you know if he has any family in the city or anything?
We know he has a daughter, and we have spoken with him, and he's given us his daughter's information. She actually helped him speak with legal aid, so he does have a relationship with his family here, yes.
Okay, all right. I think I'd like to follow that some more. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Joyner.
Well, similarly, I think you've answered some of my questions already, but so it sounds like he's working with legal aid, and you've got him plugged in with folks at the county government as well, since they have sort of the more social services piece than we do of a lot of these things.
Correct.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Waddell.
Mr. Chambers, I'm sorry, Brian. Wrong Brian. Was this complaint driven?
This was actually initiated by the officer. He was in the neighborhood doing what he does, and he noticed the condition of the roof, and that started the conversation.
So is the roof is it fallen? Sorry. The utilities are on, taxes paid?
Let me double check that. I have it written down. Taxes are paid, yes.
And then the roof is the major issue that you guys have found. Any other
the roof, the improper or inoperable heating system that doesn't function properly, and the floor is beginning to rot in the kitchen.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Oh, Ms. Spears, sorry, sir.
Kind of want to piggyback off of where Councilman Waddell was going. So I was having this thought prior to this meeting as I looked over this stuff earlier today, and I mean, just from appearance and patchwork, and I don't, to me, and I'm no expert at this, but that wouldn't warrant enough to get inside to see. And again, this is almost the second time when we look at the list of things that are being listed as being out of compliance, and it's like peeling paint and things of that nature. And I don't agree with this at all, you know, especially if you're saying this man is 80 years old. Right. I don't. But it just, maybe we need to look at the minimum housing code standard to just see what would trigger this. I'm not saying that it's good, but it seems really picky to me, and I don't, Luke and I don't agree often, but I kind of picked up where he was going, and I was gonna say it anyway, but then looking at, based on the conditions and the age of the resident, I agree, but we want this gentleman to have somewhere to go, but it kind of seems to me as like, how are we finding this stuff? Just because as an everyday citizen who works and, you know, some people just may not have the resources to scrape the paint. They may not have the resources to fix a board or fix a step. And at this point, he's paying his rent, so the person that he's paying his rent to should be doing these things. But it just seems a little, I'm gonna say, out of whack. And I don't know. I don't know if that's, I don't know if this is triggering. It may not look good. It's definitely not good for this 80-year-old gentleman, but I mean, he just, I don't know if he's paid his rent and he stopped paying his rent over a year and a half ago and still hadn't decided to do some things that, you know, would up the standard of the living standard or livability of this home. I don't know if it really triggers it being demolished. Maybe needing to be repaired with some concern, but I just don't know how it gets to code enforcement. And I guess I went the long way around the block to ask that. How does this get us to code enforcement?
Yeah, so the first red flag, to my understanding, was the tarp on the roof. That's usually a good sign that the roof's leaking, and that's where the conversation begins, especially knowing this is a rental. Now, as we proceed with this, our goal this entire time since 2021 has been to get the landlord to fix the dwelling, which he has not done, which is why we're here. The concern regarding the demolition portion of this, that is a function of the estimated cost of repair in 2024 versus the tax value in 2024. I will say the tax value has increased significantly in 2025 for this dwelling. If City Council would like to remove the demolition portion of the ordinance, that is definitely your prerogative to do so. It's the ordinance that is being adopted by City Council, and City Council can amend it as they see fit. Additionally, with the time to vacate, that can also be edited by City Council as they see fit.
Right, and so another thing, you know, when you talked about the heating issues or heating and air conditioning issues and the window issues and things of that nature, I mean, an 80-year-old man trying to wrap his head around home improvements, you know, weatherproofing windows and things like that. I just don't think an average person would think that that's a code enforcement violation. And again, at the end of the day, it's not really his responsibility. He's a tenant, but, you know, he's potentially going to be displaced for some things that, I mean, somebody has tried to make some effort. I don't know if it's him or the owner, but somebody has tried to make some effort. And I'm just confused, and I've seen a few of these, and it has cautioned me to ask, like, what is really triggering some of this stuff? And the really bad ones, yeah, they need to go. They need to be demolished. People need to be fined. But you know, stuff like this, again, it's not good because he's an 80-year-old man having a $700 electricity bill. I don't know. Just a thought I've been having, and Luke inspired me.
Okay. Mr. Robinbar?
I don't totally disagree with what Kevin or Luke said, but I'm sure in 2021, the house was not in this condition. It triggered somebody to stop and talk about it, but 4 years goes by, and these kinds of things, when you kick that kind of maintenance down the road, they don't get better, they get worse. And this 2 years from now will be worse than it is now. I'm more concerned about the gentleman that's living in there. That's where my concern is. And I've seen, the reason I asked, was he paying rent? I've seen people own buildings or own mobile homes or whatever, and they had tenants that and the landlord knew they had no alternative. And they would charge them exorbitant rates and pay by the week. And I feel good to know that this gentleman, the guy's been letting him stay there rent-free. But it does need to be repaired. And it's not the tenant's responsibility to do that. And this guy has ignored you until, I guess you sent him an email saying that we were going to hear this tonight, and it triggered him to give you a call and say, I'm going to hire a contractor. It's easy to say that. Let's make sure he does, because this house, at first blush, the house looks okay. We've seen a lot worse. If the roof were repaired and maybe some, shoring up the flooring, it would go a long ways. And electric heaters cost more than running a heating system in a house. In most cases, maybe not in this one, but those electric heaters, boy, that meter is spinning like a roulette wheel. So those are my comments. But whatever we decide to do here tonight, your office needs to hold this owner's feet to the fire and make him have a plan to get this house brought up to some kind of standard. Because right now, it doesn't meet all of our standards. And I'd like for that gentleman to have a nice, safe place to live. I don't want to see him have to go scrambling around trying to find anything that comes along. Thank you.
Waddell?
My main concern, like I think everybody else's, is that displacing an 80-year-old man who's lived in a home for quite a while. If it was one thing, if he was in imminent danger in this property, in my opinion, it doesn't really look that way. You see a lot more of this than you, so I'm not second guessing you, but you did reference, what if we were to remove the demolition provision from this ordinance? Can you walk me through that? If we were to remove it, what's the recourse then to the homeowner to move forward and get the repairs done in a timely manner?
Yeah, our authority without having the demolition boils down to repair. So what we would do is we'd obviously still have the summary ejectment aspect of it for the tenant. So whatever time frame City Council sets on that, we would still have the authority to file a summary ejectment. Regarding our enforcement actions, it would proceed with civil citations, and then we'd probably speak with the attorney's office about filing a court injunction. And then if the owner does not do anything within a year, we look at an abandonment of intent to repair and be back before council. That being said, I'm hopeful that the owner has taken us seriously now and does intend to bring a contractor forward. But we would be limited to citations and court action from there generally.
So even if we remove the demolition provision from this ordinance, you would still ultimately, and he didn't, and the owner of the property didn't take any action, we would still ultimately have to remove the tenant via summary ejectment?
That's how the tenant would need to be removed if the tenant does not voluntarily vacate or the owner does not vacate it, if the owner does not bring it into compliance.
Okay. And what would their timeline be?
The summary ejectment would depend. It would take us, I'd probably defer to Meredith on timeline, but it would ultimately be up to the magistrate, and then if he appeals, the district court. We likely would not move quickly on a summary ejectment in this case, solely because we have other priorities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Andrews?
I understand where a lot of people would look at this and think that there's no imminent danger. I'm looking at the lack of the railing on the back porch and the front porch, and the fact that this person is using a space heater, for heat. It just looks like a fire hazard to me. And so that would be my main concern, is that if we're going to leave this gentleman in this home, I want the owner to put railings on the front and the back. I want him to fix the heater so the guy doesn't have to use a space heater. It just looks like a fire trap to me.
Brian, this has been going on since
August of 2021, I believe, is when we initiated this case. At that time, we sent our initial notice, and we tried to get contact with the owner. I did some shaking down and actually contacted his mother, which is how I got in contact with him up in New York. And yeah, we've been speaking with him. The last full conversation I had with him was September 2023, which he assured me he was going to get a contractor and resolve this, and then he disappeared, quit responding to us until this meeting.
Has anybody contacted Warm?
We did attempt to make referrals to Healthy Homes, to Warm. All of those things require the owner's cooperation. And if an owner is not cooperating, then nothing can go through.
The dilemma here is that we're going to displace an 80-year-old man, but at the same time, if he doesn't fix the house, you're going to be right back here very shortly if the roof continues to leak, and we're going to be demolishing this house, where right now it could possibly be saved. And I guess the only way we could get this individual's attention is to go through this specific action tonight. And if we waive that, what's to say that he just goes away again? And we go through this whole process where the house is deteriorating even quicker, where we want to try to preserve the house. And if this was the Wilmington Housing Authority or any other organization and people were living under these conditions, there'd be a public outcry, including being on TV. And I just think that this individual is aware of it. So he has his responsibility. If he wants to preserve this thing, he needs to get on the ball and do it. I think we need to at least make him aware of the fact that we're serious about this. Appreciate the fact that he's allowing this gentleman to stay in the house for no rent, which he shouldn't. But at the same time, if we don't do something to stabilize it, we're going to lose it anyway. And this gentleman's going to be moved out. And so it can be saved right now. And if he would cooperate with the organizations, even if he doesn't have the money to do it, but if he cooperates with WARM or some of these other organizations that are willing to come in here and help this elderly man that's in this house, he could get some help. But if he's not going to listen to anybody, or he's not going to, contact us until the 9th hour, it puts us all in a precarious position. We don't want to do this. But at the same time, he's forcing our hand, and I hope he's listening to us tonight, if he's not here tonight. So those are my comments. So anybody else? Okay. Thank you, sir. Oh, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead.
Comment. I'm sorry. I was just going to say I agree with what Mayor Sappho just said. And my concern, I think, is I mentioned the daughter. You said that the man who's living in the house has a daughter. You've talked with her. How is that going?
I've not spoken directly with her. The officer stopped by the house today and spoke with the tenant, and he just asked that we contact his daughter after this meeting and just let her know what's going on. We've provided him with everything up to a referral to Starway. We've given him opportunities to relocate. He's he'd rather go to a house. There's a lot of other things going on with the relocate aspect of it, but ultimately it's his decision on where he lives, and if he chooses to stay in the house and the house doesn't get repaired, then we'll have to look at taking appropriate action as warranted. The time to vacate is also one of those decisions that council can add additional time to if they see fit.
Yeah, I think we need to put the pressure on the guy in New York, the owner of the house. And I would hope that we could actually sit down and talk with the daughter and see if we could, through her, help to find the occupant a safer place to live.
Mrs. Spears.
So, Brown, when you've talked to this gentleman, what concerns does he have?
He wasn't overly thrilled with the fact that we initiated a case on the property, but he, I think, does have concern with the fact that obviously he's using space heaters to heat. As I said, he's in his early 80s, and he's, to my understanding, been the one patching the house to keep it standing as it is. But when I was in the house on the 25th, again, he's been patching the roof with sealant, trying to just keep it from leaking. And the floor in the kitchen underneath the water heater is starting to go. I think next big storm, we're probably going to have leaking through the roof.
So did he, and I hate to cut you off,
Yeah.
did he say he was still experiencing leaking after his patching, or?
No, he was, when we first went into the house for the hearing, he mentioned having electrical issues, and this time when we came through, when I asked him if he was still having electrical issues, he didn't say anything about it. Part of it is he's very hard of hearing, is some of that communication barrier. The other part of it is he knows what this process entails, and he obviously wants to stay in his house, and we would much like to keep him in his house, given that landlord can fix it. Okay,
so here's my thing, and I guess I didn't hear when you said that in the beginning, if you said in the beginning about the electrical issues. So yeah, that warrants some concern, but also, you know, space heaters in 2025 are not space heaters in 1960, 1970, 1980. You know, they have the capacity to turn on and turn off, and if a temperature is set. So yeah, I understand you all saying, you know, we're concerned about a fire, but now that you're saying electrical issues, I get it. Again, my concern, I have two concerns here. The first concern is clearly the residents' safety, but also, you know, again, I won't go all the way back down the rabbit hole, but, you know, just based on appearance, what triggers this and these little small things, because, yeah, everyone, even in 25, doesn't have central heat in the air. So there are a lot of people who are heating their homes with space heaters and cooling their home with window units. It's just a luxury that we take for granted to have central heat in the air, but because everybody doesn't have it. And so, you know, we can't just say, oh, let's just get them out because this is the thing, because they're trying to stay warm, and staying warm in a dwelling compared to some of the people that we see that are unsheltered. So,
Mr. Waddell and then Ms. Andrews.
Brian, how long has the tenant been in this property?
I don't have an exact period of time. My understanding is it's been several years, if not longer.
Yeah, so I don't want to litigate up here whether or not he should be using a space heater in the house that he lives in. Like, what real business is that of ours? But I do think that the 30 days to vacate, if we're going to move forward, this 30 days to vacate seems really fast for a deaf 80-year-old man. And so I would, at a minimum, want to see 90-90, give him at least 3 months to have some additional time. I mean, we just had an 80-year-old gentleman up here earlier. Imagine going in and telling him you got to be out in 30 days. I think we got to be a little bit more reasonable on this one. So that would be the only thing that I would bring to council. If we're going to move forward with this, let's try and give a little more time, at least on the vacate portion.
Ms. Andrews.
Yeah, Brian, could you put up the photo of the space heater? That is not a 2025 space heater. That's all, you know. And we're not, it's not that I'm litigating whether someone can use a space heater in their own home. I'm litigating, you know, they shouldn't have to, especially in a home where it's very difficult for an 81-year-old man to escape, considering that there's no handrails on either the front porch or the back porch. You know, I just want something to, pardon the phrase, light a fire under this landlord to get these repairs made and let this man live in his house. Can we amend the order to 90 days to repair, or vacate, you know, give him 90 days to vacate as well?
Okay. Go ahead.
For the record, I wouldn't poo-pawing the fact that anybody uses a gas heater or a space heater. But I do know for a cold hard fact, and Duke Energy sends me the thing every month, that they are expensive to operate. The space heaters are. I have no problem with them. I've got one. So anyway, I just want to make that clear.
Brian, are you going to have conversation with this gentleman tomorrow, or is he here?
I
know he's
don't.
not.
I don't believe he's here. I haven't seen him. I don't know if a representative of the owner is here either. I asked the owner if someone's going to come.
I guess, and maybe there are. I guess my only thing is, and the thing that bothered me a little bit is that if we got organizations here that are willing to help, and I believe we do, especially with the warm, and this is the type of things that they take on, and since the house is not that far gone, to at least get in there and to stabilize the roof conditions and whatever else needs to be done, I think they would do it if the gentleman would talk to them or be able to communicate with them. And you're right, they're not going to communicate with air. They've got to be able to communicate with the owner, and this is what this organization is tasked to do. I know that me and the Mayor Pro Tem were at their ribbon cutting the other day, and the organization has grown tremendously, and they're doing a lot of good work in the community, and this is specific to what they're doing. They've got a gentleman in here, it's elderly, that needs help. The man is in New York, and he's not either going to do it or doesn't. I don't know what the issue is there, but they could stabilize a lot of what I'm seeing here. But I've got to, he's got to be willing to help himself to help us or help this man, you know? That's my take on it. It's just, this is at least doable. It's not that far gone, but it can be fixed to stabilize it and keep this man in here. But he's got to cooperate. I mean, he's got to help him. I don't know what else to say. I hope he's listening. Yes, sir, Mr. Barnett.
Brian, did you say that it's not the occupant's responsibility? He doesn't have to say, the owner has to allow them to come in and fix it, right? Or what? Help me understand that.
The challenge with program funding, such as the city's Healthy Homes program, is that the owner needs to agree. And in some of these tenant situations, the owner is not willing to participate in the program. The thing with WARM and other area programs is they're typically focused on owner-occupied housing, not tenant-occupied housing, unless WARM's expanded their program. So I think that's where we run into challenges with this in terms of who is providing the funding and who's accepting the funding and benefiting from it. I would hope that with the owner moves forward with his plans as he's expressed, and I appreciate the conversation around additional time to vacate and additional timeline.
Okay. Mr. Spears?
So if we motion this and you talk to the occupant, not the owner, and get whatever his wishes are, and I think the issue with the programs that we have within this community, they would have to go through the process of getting him the help. I mean, at this point, if the concern is him having rails, I'll get somebody to build him some rails and donate the wood and get that to happen for him on the front and the back. I'm certain that I have enough resources in this community to get that done if that helps him to remain here safely. But to motion this, to possibly talk with him, well, to definitely talk to him, but to talk to the owner and then bring it back up at the next meeting, and then whatever information that you bring forward to us at that time, we go with it. Like I always say, if we can't work on a compromise and we can't reach an agreement, we just go with what it is. But, you know, we give him the opportunity still, even at the next meeting, for 90 days to vacate.
Why don't you move that?
So
Kevin, excuse me, before we go there, I would like to go ahead and open the public hearing and leave the public hearing open, and then we can continue the item until our next meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
But why don't we just at least get through the public hearing?
Okay, that works.
See if anybody wants to speak, and maybe they don't, but we'll leave it open, and then we'll continue till
That
our
works.
following meeting, if that's okay with you.
Anybody with some wood or some nails, feel free to speak.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Okay, I'm going to ask now if the homeowner is here in the audience, if he can come forward. Not seeing him, I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if anybody in the public wishes to speak on item PH1. Okay. Not seeing anybody. I'm going to leave the public hearing open. Do you want to make a motion to continue this item and to wait to hear what Mr. Renner's communication is with the owner of the property for our next meeting? Okay?
Yeah, I'd like to make that motion
Make the motion to continue.
continue
Okay.
to the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion made by Councilmember Spears to continue this item, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? Mr. Ravenbart?
I don't have a problem, but what are our expectations?
The expectation is for Brian to speak to the occupant, to definitely speak to the occupant, but to reach out to the owner. But if the owner, if he can't come to a resolve with the owner, hear what the wishes are of the occupant, and if then the next meeting, we'll go forward with what he suggested, but we'll give the occupant 90 days to vacate.
Okay. But I mean, we're not going to put a Band-Aid on this thing. I mean, at the end
No,
of
no.
Okay.
And in the meantime, after Brian talks to him or whatever, feel free to call, text me. And like I said, I'll find some people who can give him some, we'll create some rails for him, for sure.
Councilmember Spears, just to make certain that we put it in there for the record, I was just talking to the clerk, we'll set the date for May the 6th, which is our next council meeting.
Okay. that's
May
fine.
6, 2025 is when we'll hear back from Mr. Renner, and hopefully we'll have good, positive communication with the owner as to what is going to happen then. So all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item PH2, which is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish a dwelling at 315 Meares Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. At this time, I'd like to recognize City Manager Mr. Caudle. Mr. Caudle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Renner will overview this item as well, please.
Okay.
Good evening again. The second property we're going to talk about this evening is 315 Meares Street. We do have the owner here with us this evening. It's a little over 1,000 square feet, single-family house built in the early 1900s. It's currently vacant. Owner Matthew Johnson. This is a view from Meares Street, so you see two different photos here. The photo on the left is from March 25th. The photo on the right from April 15th. As you can see, the owner has been making repairs to the building since we initiated this public hearing. The case began back in January 2023. It was a tenant complaint. At that time, it was occupied by the tenant. We took it to hearing in February 2024. The tenant attended that hearing. Order was issued in March and expired in June of 2024. Since the hearing, it's now been vacant, and up until the end of March 2025, no repairs have been made until we went to do our inspection. The owner was there working on it. Tax value of the building, $43,200. Estimated cost of repair, 66%, which is dilapidated by the city's minimum housing code. Section of the minimum housing code and the findings of fact. So here we have some photos on the left, some foundation issues from March 25th, photo on the right is from April 15th. All the windows are still boarded. The owner has painted the exterior and replaced some of the rotten siding on the outside. Photo on the left from March 25th, photo on the right from April 15th. We do still have some, he has made some repairs to the porch railing, and he's still working on it. He says he's repaired the window there as well. We do still have some gaps and missing brick in the foundation. That's photos from the 25th. Inside, we do still have some rotten window sills. This is photos from the 15th and 25th. Photos from the 15th. A lot of the actions done by the tenant in this building prior involved spraying spray foam in every crack and hole due to the insulating issues with the dwelling. So there is quite a bit of spray foam used throughout. This is a repair the owner did. Since then, he's replaced some of that rotten flooring and redid some piping. He also replaced some issues underneath the water heater and just some more. So the house is not to a habitable standard yet. He's obviously working on it. Our initial recommendation on this was to approve the ordinance, to hold the owner accountable to it, and again, 90 days to do that. The owner does have photos and some information that he would like to share. If if council would like to do something other than approve this ordinance, I don't think staff would be opposed to that. But I think we would like to pass this ordinance to ensure that the owner completes the repairs, and if he doesn't, we can take appropriate action to include additional citations. But I will be here if there's any questions, and I think the owner does have some information to share.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to recognize the homeowners.
Gentlemen, ladies. Yes, the reason my problem happened was the tenant just basically took over my house, and I wasn't able to get it back until February. And from February to now, I've been working on the house. And I'm going to tell you, I have it up for sale at $170, and you can actually do something with an extra lot. But if you guys want to buy it, that's good. Yeah, I need to get out of here. The landlord business is not good for me, so those are pictures there that you're seeing where she just totally demolished me. And I mean, to the point of when you're trying to do what's right, you know, I lost my job, rent $450, still get to it. So I got to try to sink what I have into the house.
Wow.
And I'm asking you guys to give me 6 months so I can get the house back habitable and then put it on the market and sell it. I'm trying to sell it myself to save on the commission.
I understand.
Yeah, she's, yeah. You want to look at the pictures.
You've done
Sir?
some work, you've done some good work on it, and we appreciate your action, and that means a lot to us, because sometimes we don't see this kind of ownership come forward and to do the things that you're doing, and we really appreciate that. And I've been in the landlord business, and I know exactly what you're saying, and it's a tough business, and at least one time, but I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. Mr. Waddell, do you have a question, sir?
Yes, sir. I echo those sentiments. Appreciate you jumping in and doing what you need to do. I've been in a very similar position before, and it's not a fun place to be. So I can certainly commiserate with you there. So your specific request is for, I think we have 90-day, Brian, and yours is for 180 days. Is that your request?
I'm asking.
That's correct.
Okay. You're asking for 6 months.
I was asking 6 months to get it in shape where it could be sold, yeah.
But you're all right keeping it vacant.
Sir?
You're okay to keep it vacant in that
I'm
6
keep it
months. You
vacant,
just want
yes.
rather than 3 months, you want 6 months.
Yes, sir.
That's your request. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Spears?
So, sir, I'm not gonna pretend that I don't know you. and so you're in good favor with me. I appreciate you showing up, Mac. And of course, you know, I want to see you get yourself into a better position. I hate that this happened to you, but I'm always looking to give grace, and you showing up, and me knowing you and knowing the type person that you are, you know, I know you to be a man of your word.
Thank you.
So I support this effort in allowing you 180 days to get it available to sell. So.
Can
I ask you guys one other question? They're probably not going to be on TV again, so.
Max, anything you want to do, what you want to say, you got the platform, my friend.
What day is this televised, I guess?
You're on TV right now.
You're on TV right now. You're live, man.
Oh, I mean, so I won't be able to see it.
Well, you can see it. Yeah, you can go on your computer and see it. You sure can.
Okay.
You just want to see yourself, man?
Never been on TV before.
You could talk about how good of a basketball player I was.
Yeah, you're a real good one.
Okay. Yes, sir.
If we're in order, I'd like to offer a motion that we.
I think we just need to go through the public hearing process, and then we can go right after that. I think that we'll be fine. Max, okay?
I can go?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. This time, I'm going to open up the public hearing and ask if anyone in the public wishes to speak on this item. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, have you received any additional comments?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the wishes of council in regards to item PH2. We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Spears, second by Councilmember Rivenbark.
This is at 180 days rather than 90.
Add 180 days.
Okay, 180 days. Madam Clerk, you fine with that? Okay, very good. Okay, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilmember Waddell, Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our ordinances. Item O1 is an ordinance appropriating funds to outfit the Sting Center area offices at the Skyline Center. At this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, who looks like you've been playing rugby, Mr. Tony Caudle. Mr. Caudle?
You should have seen the other guy.
I'm sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Captain Lionel Williams with the Wilmington Police Department will overview this item for us. And actually, a woman did this to me.
I see that.
Good evening. I will say that I played rugby, but I didn't do that. So.
Gotcha.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members, and City staff. The Wilmington Police Department would like to request funding in the amount of $70,000 from NC drug tax revenue to upfit the Sting Center and offices at the new Skyline Center, and for full operation also in preparation for future growth.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What are any further questions from council? If not, what are the wishes of council? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Waddell. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to our next item, which has a resolution and an ordinance tied to it, and I'll read both of them into the record. Item O2A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with North Carolina Department of Transportation to receive funding for the milling and resurfacing of Dawson Street and Wooster Street from 3rd Street to 17th Street. And then item O2B is the ordinance making an appropriation in the amount of $1,911,000 from NCDOT to the Streets and Sidewalks Capital Projects Fund for the milling and resurfacing of Dawson Street and Wooster Street from 3rd Street to 17th Street. This time I'd like to recognize our city manager, Mr. Caudle. Mr. Caudle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kyle Bruden, our project manager, will overview this item for us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. As you may already be aware, Dawson Street and Wooster Street have been identified as principal arterial roads by the NCDOT and have been characterized as an area in need of investment. The Dawson and Wooster Streetscape Project, which is included in the City Transportation Bond Program, aims to implement these needed investments to the Dawson and Wooster corridor. The goals of this project are to increase pedestrian mobility, create a safer environment for both vehicles and pedestrians, and improve the aesthetics of one of the city's most important thoroughfares. As part of the Dawson and Wooster Streetscape Project, the city and the NCDOT wish to collaborate and provide improved transportation infrastructure for the community. Before you is a resolution that authorizes the city manager to enter into a reimbursement agreement with the NCDOT, as well as a companion ordinance to appropriate NCDOT funds to the Streets and Sidewalks Capital Project Fund. Under this agreement, the NCDOT has agreed to reimburse the city for all costs incurred from the paving of Dawson and Wooster Streets between 3rd and 17th Streets and a portion of 16th and 17th Streets between Dawson and Wooster Streets. The estimated reimbursable amount of design and construction costs agreed upon by both parties and includes a contingency is $1,911,000. The design of this milling and paving work is currently being finalized and will be constructed in concurrence with the Dawson and Wooster Streetscape project. City staff recommends the passage of both of these items. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Mr. Waddell, you have a question?
So the NCDOT reimbursement will be for the full amount of this project?
It will be just for the resurfacing portion of
Right,
the
but that
project.
full amount is we anticipate to be $1,900,000 with some contingency.
Yes, correct.
If we go over, is there contingency there from the NCDOT, or what's that look like?
Yes, within the agreement, they have agreed to reimburse the actual construction costs, even if it exceeds. We just needed to have an estimate in place so that we could identify what those reimbursable costs would be in the project.
Thank you.
Mr. Reidenbach?
In a perfect world, they would do everything. So we're saving the state a bunch of money.
I think in terms of saving money, it's saving us a little bit of money as well, because they're going to be contributing to pavement markings. It's going to prevent us from having to do any kind of asphalt repairs or anything.
Well, let me go back to my original statement and say it a different way. The state would normally do all of it, because those are state-maintained roads, DOT roads. So, I mean, that's correct, isn't it? Normally, in a perfect world, the DOT would do it all. It's their project, they'd do it all, and we'd sit by and watch them do it. Now, we're participating in it. We've got skin in the game.
Yes,
Okay.
and DOT, they're responsible for the actual roadway itself. We would still be responsible for paying for all the sidewalks, the curb bump outs.
I understand that. I'm talking about from curb to curb, the road.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I realize that we're responsible for the other, but we're doing in my opinion, we're doing something that we shouldn't have to do. And we got our time, our people, our money out there doing it. Okay.
Understood.
We're the good guys in this one.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear you say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're the good guys. They're very much appreciative that we're willing to go out and work with them on this. Yep.
Okay. Mr. Joyner?
So by doing it this way, we're expecting to see the curb bump outs at every intersection on both of those streets. Is that correct?
They won't be at every single corner on the intersections, but they will be there will be some curb bump outs within every single intersection on both streets.
Okay. Yeah, I was with Mr. Mays the other day, and he was pointing a few of them out to me, and I didn't have clarity on whether or not it was every single intersection, but even just this picture here gives me a lot of, makes me feel a lot better about pedestrian safety going up and down the road. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Ms. Spears?
David, you do know this is just a rendering, right? Is this what we're actually going to get?
Yes, as of right now, this is what we're going to be getting, minus some of the landscaping.
Now,
Minus some of the landscaping there, we will be getting what we see here in this picture.
okay, now. We appreciate you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay. What are the wishes of council on the resolution that I've already read into the record? We have a motion approved by Councilmember Andrews, second by Councilmember Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. Now, what is the wishes of council in respect to item O2B, which is the ordinance appropriating the money for this? We have a motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Barnett, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on the first reading. Is there a motion to waive the second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Joyner, second by Councilmember Andrews. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. Okay, that brings us to our next item of business, which is our resolutions. Item R1 is a resolution accepting the donation of land from Cameron Company, L.L.C. for the benefit of the Silverstream Branch Water Quality Facility. This time I'd like to recognize City Manager, Mr. Cottle. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Cameron family contacted us some months back regarding a remnant parcel that lay between Physicians Drive and a city-maintained stormwater pond on Canterwood Drive. The remnant parcel was already being maintained by the city. The Camerons offered it for donation to the city as a part of the stormwater treatment facility there. And so we have executed the proposal that lies before you, asking for your approval to accept it.
Okay, any questions from the manager? If not, what are the wishes of council in respect to the resolution? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Waddell, second by Councilmember Ravenbark. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item, which is item R2, which is a resolution amending the City Council's Rules of Order, Rule 6 Public Comment Period. And this time I'd like to recognize Councilmember Andrews. Ms. Andrews?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So I brought this forward because we have been having several meetings here where people who have signed up to speak don't show up. Several meetings we've had one speaker show up and other people who didn't get an opportunity to sign up during the period before the the meeting. So 5 minutes is actually a really long time and actually really unusual in these types of public information sessions. So I'm proposing to reduce the speaking period to 3 minutes to allow more people to speak, and in addition to having these forms available in the back of the room when people enter the council chambers, so that if there's space available during the 30 minutes that we've allotted, that we might be able to recognize some other speakers.
Any question? Yes, sir.
My hesitation with like people just coming up to speak is, oftentimes I've found that unless you're prepared, what you think sounds good in your brain doesn't sound good when it comes out, okay? So one of the thoughts I had was, if we were going to shorten the time, could we not also, instead of taking, let's say, 5 speakers when the time limit is up, maybe take 8 speakers, and then if somebody is absent, those 3 will be the next ones in line. That's one thought. The second thought I had was, I like the system that we have now because it helps me to kind of understand who's going to be speaking. And therefore, if I need to do some kind of quick research or something, I'd be more prepared to maybe respond to what's being said. That's just my thoughts.
Mr. Waddell?
I'm generally very supportive of this cleanup. I think it all makes a lot of sense. I think it's important for the public to be able to come and speak on whatever. That's what a public comment period is for, to speak on whatever is on their mind. And a lot of times I learn something right here at the dais when it's brought up. And so I'm overall supportive of this change, but I wouldn't have any issue with taking it from 5 to 8 and then have the same overflow that I think is contemplated in Councilmember Andrews' paperwork here that gives that opportunity. And just give you some clarification, Councilmember Andrews. Basically, so if somebody comes in and signs, if I come in and I sign up, I would be next on the list, right? And it would just go basically in order of who signed up. Similar, I think the county does it that way right now, and they may have an online sign up as well. I'm not familiar, but that's how you envision this in your proposal?
Yeah, so a lot of public bodies like this, especially at the local level, do just use the signups in the back of the room. You know, I can see advantages to having the sign up in advance. The problem is that the form is not always available, and so we've had people who complained that they couldn't sign up during the period. And then one of the things we do when we create a reservation system, and I talked with the manager about this, and he had said we've had the same problem with the golf course. When you have a reservation system and then there's no consequences for not meeting your reservation, you get a lot of no-shows. And that's what we've had with City Council. And it would be good to give people an opportunity that if they didn't get a slot, that they could still potentially show up and be able to speak if a few people don't show up, which is often what happens. But I also likened it yesterday to a reservation system for a restaurant. If you have a reservation online, you know you're going to show up and you're going to have your table, hopefully. But if you just show up at the restaurant, you may get a table when you want to eat or you may not. So I think it's just a backup system.
We have Mr. Joyner.
This is more of a general comment about our public comment, not a comment on the resolution specifically. As we are considering this in general, and then as we're also considering transferring over to new council chambers, we might consider a timer that both the speakers, we, and the public can see. Because I hate when folks sort of get interrupted and don't realize how far along they are, and then they start to rush. And I think that would just assist everybody in being a little bit more organized and be effective both for the speaker and for us.
I agree. I've seen light systems at the podium and timer systems, and that would be very helpful.
Mrs. Spears.
So I hear some good in it. I agree. We could revamp, just tinker a little bit with the reservations. Have the 5, have 3 stand-ins or reserves. But I think that the system of how it works with the form going offline, it works because, and I'm not going to speculate because I have the expert over there in red. I'm going to ask her in a second. But once you go past Monday at 12, the other forms still come in, if I'm not mistaken. Ms. Penny, this is your cue. So after 12 yesterday, if any other people submitted applications, do they get to you still?
They will not get to me until after, in other words, the form closes at 12 o'clock on Monday before the council meeting. My staff pulls all the information together, and the following Monday, we turn the form back on. We do that for public information as well as public hearing. But if council wanted to do it differently, as Ms. Salette has suggested, that's fine. You just maybe take away a deadline, because some folks that signed up may feel like, why bother to sign up if I can just show up? So it's kind of whatever you'd like to do. It'll be a little unorganized. Someone will have to make sure that the sheet gets picked up in the back of the room and feeds it to the mayor so he'll know when to recognize the person, and then we can time it. But we'll do whatever council would like to do. I just say maybe you don't need a deadline.
Okay, let me chime in right there. So I'm thinking that we keep the deadline and we do away with the in-person form, but we leave a little window for additional forms. And so that way, because if I submit it online on Monday at 12:01 or 12:05, and, you know, I'm really hyped about speaking compared to Joe Blow or Jane Doe that comes in on Tuesday, and you know what? They just saw something on the news and they're feeling a little inspired, and they're going to grab the form and just speak and go off the cusp and say whatever they want to say at that time. You know, we're kind of duping the people that have done their due diligence to try to get online.
Dangerous.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I understand, you know, having a deadline of noon for the online reservation system. I don't understand having the form down for a week, though, because I think the only thing that has to happen at noon is that the option on the drop-down list to speak for that following day gets taken off, because my understanding is that when you go to the online form, there's a drop-down list that says, I want to speak on the 15th, I want to speak on May the 6th, and you have several options. So there's no reason for the form to be down. All that has to happen at noon on Monday, if you want to continue to have that deadline, which is what I've suggested, is that that option to speak on, on the 15th disappears on the Monday before.
Mr. Barnett?
So what I'm hearing is that when a person chooses to speak, like if I want to speak for next Monday, 2 Mondays away, there's no form available right now.
They can indicate it on the form. They can put the date that they want to speak. Yes, they are able to do that. Yes,
So
sir.
there's a form available right
Yes,
now?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's just turned off as we prepare for the upcoming council meeting. But I have a lot of folks that, in fact, I had one gentleman that signed up for the next 6 months. He filled out a form per council meeting and just indicated what date he wanted to put it on.
Okay. Does staff kind of look at who's going to speak and have like certain people here just in case? Or you just, like for example, if somebody says, I want to talk about crime or whatever, would you like share that with the police chief and say that when somebody's got a comment about crime, would you be available? Or
We typically have not shared that information with anybody except the city attorney and myself, as well as the clerk, of course, who has that information.
Okay.
Generally speaking, it has been council's posture that they would not expect an immediate response from staff on items that are brought up under public comment.
Okay.
But if you want to change that dynamic, then we certainly could try to be prepared for it, but it may be somewhat difficult.
And I wouldn't want to change that. I think we need to, like, think it through. So I like the way we're doing it, where we just listen, and then later on come up with something. Okay.
And I could add that occasionally, if I see, when the manager and the clerk share it with me, if I see something that someone wants to talk about, a particular ordinance, like it has a complaint about noise ordinance, or whatever it is, like the one tonight with the meetups for the classic cars. I can pull that information ahead of time in case you do ask about it. And so it is helpful in that way, but I don't think that what Ms. Andrews is proposing, it removes that. That would still be in place. You just have 10 slots as it is right now with 3 minutes each. But we would still get that printout, because there'd still be that noon on Monday deadline with what she's got, and we'd still get that printout, but the printout we get would just have 10 names on it instead of 6. So she's not proposing what I've got doesn't propose taking that away. So we would still have that opportunity.
Mr. Waddell?
Yeah. My understanding of the general spirit of this resolution is that if 5 people sign up online and only one of them shows up, then only one person gets to speak. Well, we may have 4 other people that are ready, willing, and able to speak during the public comment period, and this enables them to sign up and be here and fill that slot. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm supportive of it. I do think that there's some operational discussions that need to happen, and perhaps it would be appropriate for us to move this to some sort of committee. I don't know what committee would be appropriate to consider this, Mr. Mayor, if we have one that's council related, but that's an idea,
Well,
rather than kind of hashing it all out up here.
No, I don't have a problem with Mrs. Andrews' resolution. I support the whole concept. As the chair, I've been put in some difficult situations with all of you. And I want to give people leeways without being onerous, and I want to have transparency. But I do think, and I know that Celeste and both David are both new members of the council, I believe that we really need to do a little bit of a deep dive into our rules, where we have a little bit more commentary, and I think we ought to try to do it, if we can, Mr. Manager, at our next budget retreat, if we can, since we'll all be there, because I think we all need to be there instead of divvying it out to a committee to hash out. I think we should all be there because we all have commentary, but I'm ultimately the officer that's responsible for running the meetings, and I want to be fair to everybody in how we do it, and sometimes you all come to me with sometimes different asks at different times, and sometimes it kind of skirts the rules, and sometimes it violates it. And since I know all of you here, and I don't want to say no to you, and I have to, because you all have your elected representatives and have a right to say what you want to say. I just think there's some things that we need to work through this public process, and I appreciate you bringing this forward, Celeste, because I think it's something we need to do a little bit of a deeper dive. Can we do that? Can you cut away an hour? I'm sure you're way underway with your budget ready to go, and I'm sure it can happen.
We can do anything you'd like, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I know that.
Yes,
but,
sir.
But I just like to have a conversation with all of us. I just think it's important in regards to presentations, resolutions that we bring forward. How do we want to work up with that in respect? I know each council member has the right to do that. Do we want to have a courtesy of some sort for the resolution to be, whoever brings the resolution forward to contact all council members just to share what that resolution is about. Obviously, this item here, I can support that. But there's other things within that, those rules of order that I think that we need to look at. And I don't think we have really done a deep dive in those rules for quite some time. I know each council at the beginning of its session sets the rules, but I do think that we ought to really take a look at them. my personal take on it and just put a little bit more time into it. But I appreciate the fact, I don't have a problem giving people 3 minutes and doing what you're saying. So but I think there's more to this than just this particular item. There's other items that I think that we just all collectively need to talk about and agree upon, or else we'll have, different folks doing different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a great idea, but I think I'm going to go ahead and move this item for tonight because I think,
Okay.
we have worked through it.
Yeah. Mr. Spears?
So I meant to say this initially. I don't think in my, maybe once or twice in my years of being in this seat, I've yet to see a person come and articulate what they needed to say in 3 minutes. So reducing that time, just, I don't agree with that. I think the 5 minutes works. We often see people go over the 5 minutes. That may be the one thing that we need to work on, but reducing the time from 5 minutes to 3 minutes to try to get more people in to talk is not it to me. And then the only other thing that I would suggest at this time is to say that maybe we work to make the reserves available online. So once you go through the deadline of being in the 5 that are going to speak, or the 6, is it 5 or 6? The 6 that are going to speak, and then there's 3 reserve slots that could be there in case 3 don't show up. But that's just it for now, but maybe we'll discuss it later if this doesn't go through tonight, and we have to discuss it in a work session.
Mr. Waddell?
Yeah, just really directed to Councilmember Andrews. I really like the spirit of this resolution and basically fully supportive of it. The only reason I'm not going to second it is that I do think that there's some operational issues that should be worked out with staff and would be appropriate to have in the very near future. When is our next budget meeting? Is it in May?
May the 13th, I believe.
It's coming up. It's coming up. That's fine. Middle of May.
It's actually May 16th.
Okay. So yeah, it's coming up soon, and I think that we absolutely should make a decision on this and any other items that people have from a rules standpoint. That's not in this session where we're trying to hash it all out, but in general, I'm very supportive of it, and I appreciate you bringing it forward.
Yeah. Penny, on the public information segment, I know that each person is given 5 minutes, and of course, as the chair, I can give them more time, and I usually do try to let them kind of wrap it up if they can. Sometimes it gets a little bit more long-winded. I try to be as accommodating as I can. But usually, the time clock is set, and then once it goes off, you reset it for 1 minute, or is it 1 minute intervals?
Yes, sir. I set it in 1 minute intervals, and I keep a log of it just in case.
Because sometimes it goes 5, and then it goes a minute, 2 minutes, and then I can hear boom,
Right.
boom. So it goes sometimes 6 minutes.
Exactly. And
Depending on.
sometimes it goes 8 minutes, but I
Yeah.
do keep a log, and if it gets too long, then I just make you aware
So
of
the
it.
3 minutes is really a 4-minute thing. I mean, you could go, yeah. I mean, I give them a little bit of obviously I'm gonna give them a leeway. I mean, the public has a right to be able to say what they want to say, and they should.
They don't need to sing to us.
Got a great
No, I know, that's why we need to talk about the rules. Charlie, do you have anything you want to say? Yeah.
We, several years ago, me, Neil Anderson, and Margaret Haynes were appointed to an ad hoc committee looking at rules and procedures, and we went through from soup all the way to nuts. And it turned out to be a colossal waste of time because it came up here when it was presented to council. I don't know if anything stuck to the wall. So doing it with everybody there and getting it out and open for all 7 of us makes a great deal of sense. This ain't rocket science. It really isn't. So we don't need to, make something extremely complicated. You can have a piece of paper back there, people can sign up, but here's what'll happen. They'll see an item that's on the agenda, and they'll want to get up there and talk for 5 minutes about an item that's going to have a public hearing anyway. So, you could put a piece of paper back there, they could sign up. At 6:30, the piece of paper comes up here or to the clerk, and you call those people's names out. 3 minutes, And at 3 minutes, it needs to be something a lot louder than that little buzzer, because they don't even pay any attention to it. And then you could have 10 people. I wouldn't care. But the mayor, God love him, he's good-hearted to everybody that comes up. But at some point, you just have to say, sir, your time's up. You know, if they know they're going to have 3 minutes, they'll condense their little spiel to fit. Those are my comments.
Mr. Joyner.
I just want to say briefly, I think this is a good opportunity for us to get the conversation started. I do want to further that discussion whenever we find time to do that. But I don't want us to kick ourselves and beat ourselves up too much, because I think if we look at some of our peers on other boards, our meetings are quite well run, and people are respectful and deferential, and even when we have difficult conversations, people keep it simple.
Ms. Andrews.
Yeah, to Councilmember Rivenbark's point, it is in the current rules, and I left it in my proposed change, that if an item regards something that's a public hearing, that the person will be directed to the public hearing and not to the public comment period. So we always have had the opportunity to do that.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I wanted to let Councilmember Joyner know, when you talked about the feature of the time clock so people can see it, we do have that feature. We've always had it. We just have never turned it on, but we do have that feature.
Okay.
We do.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion to ask that the clerk's office please just at noon on Monday before, this would be in line with our current rules, at noon on the Monday before the council meeting, to not take the form down, just take off the option to speak for that that evening.
Okay.
The following Tuesday.
Okay. Okay, we have a second to that.
So, I'm sorry, what was that motion?
The motion is that there's no reason for the form to come down in 2025, as you mentioned, Councilmember Waddell, that, you know, at noon on Monday, all we need to do is take off the item on the drop-down list that allows people to select the following day to speak.
They could still sign up to speak, they're just signing up for a future meeting.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. And that's the only motion that's being made currently.
Yes.
Then we'll talk about this resolution.
And then we're going to set up a meeting for the city council to talk about rules, including other things that have been happening in respect to making certain that we're going to adhere to them. And
Let me ask a question.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, will that pose any kind of problems or issues or anything?
It will cause confusion in the clerk's office, but we'll work through it, because I'm thinking I'll have to check with IT about what Councilman Select wants. If nothing else, like I said before, you might just remove the deadline.
So, and we're gonna actually talk about this on the 13th. So could it not wait until we do the big talk? So that, I'm asking.
We have a motion that's been seconded.
Okay, well, I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
Just for clarification, that's the only motion. We're not motioning the actual resolution.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay. Mrs. Spears.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how we get to the point of graying out Tuesday after Monday at 12. Who does it? Is it IT that does it?
There will be we'll have to speak with the IT department about making that alteration in the software.
All right.
We'll prioritize it.
So, Ms. Andrews, will you please just repeat for the record what you're asking?
Yes. The motion is that the form that allows people to speak at the public information portion of our council meeting that is online not be taken down at Monday at noon, but that the that the option to speak at the following Tuesday meeting be taken off of the drop-down list, that they can still sign up for future meetings.
Okay, and that's the motion. Okay. All right, and we have a motion, second by Councilmember Joyner. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes 4-3. Okay, that brings us to our next item of business, which is reports. And by the way,
Mr.
we...
Mayor, just
yeah.
for clarification, so the actual item that was on for tonight will then be postponed until a time to be determined after it's discussed at your next budget meeting. Is that correct? So it's not a specific date. So what was R2 is going to be continued to a different date?
Yes.
Okay. And so we just don't know what that date is yet, but you'll
That
discuss it.
date would be May 16th.
May 16th.
Yes, sir.
Correct. And we're going to go do the deep dive into all the rules of order.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, very good. That brings us to our next and last item, which is reports, item RP1, which is Report of Council's Appointments Committee for Boards, Commissions. And at this time, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Rivenbark, who's the chairman of that group.
Thank you, Mayor. We met on the 31st day of March. Present were myself, Councilmember Luke Waddell, Councilmember Celeste Andrews, and Ms. Penny Spicer Seabury, our city clerk, Ms. Meredith Everhart, our city attorney. Offer the following. Commission on African American History, appoint Tiffany Cook to fill a vacancy with a term to expire 11/21/27. The Historic Preservation Commission, appoint Beth Rutledge from the HD-R with a term to expire 6/21/27. On the Sister City Commission, appoint Kit Starnes to fill a vacancy from New Hanover County School System with a term to expire September 1, 2025. And on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, we appoint Deidre Carroll to fill a vacancy with a term to expire 8/15/27 and appoint Mr. Bill Day as alternate number 4. And just as an aside, all other alternate positions on the Zoning Board of Adjustment will move up. Maggie Bennington will move to alternate number 1. Troy Deemers will move to alternate number 2, and Elaine Norman will move to alternate number 3. I make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman Rivenbark, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by just saying aye.
Aye.
I see a unanimous vote. It's all approved. Thank you, sir. This concludes the regular agenda. Are there any
Mr.
items?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
are we skipping R3? House bill?
Yeah.
Hey, that's,
Yeah, I got to
walk it on.
I got to walk it on.
Yeah, well, okay,
I got to
okay,
walk
my
it
bad.
on. I got my walking shoes on. But before we get there, this concludes the regular agenda. I'm going to be, there any items be brought forward from our city attorney? And you will check into that muffler issue or?
Yes, sir. I can tell you for sure that the exhaust laws don't apply to any vehicles that were built before 1967. And so in a lot of these vehicles, what he's describing are classic car meetups and classic car groups. But they do apply to anything that was built after 1967. So we can have some discussion and reach out to the police department about how to enforce that.
Meredith, what he is sharing and what other people are sharing are these modified cars that these kids do to make it a little bit louder and whatever they do to juice them up, and that's what he's talking about. It's not the classic cars that are doing it.
That's what was at Mayfair this week. Was a classic car meetup because I drove by there and I saw it, and so it was kind of a classic car thing. But there were still things that were built in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But anything before 1967 is exempted. But I can reach out to the police department about how to better track those things. I do know that when we were doing the noise ordinance, we talked about those. And it's just very difficult because a lot of times they don't continue going. By the time somebody reports them, it's hard. They're not there anymore, especially if they're going up and down the road. But if they are at a meetup like this, then you've got kind of a more captive audience that they should be able to respond to. So we'll have that discussion.
Okay. Mr. Manager, get your head fixed. I'm sorry. Madam Clerk, do you have anything? Mr. Joyner?
I wanted to speak briefly on what we've been seeing in the courts from Meares and the other polluters upriver who continue to fight and fail to take responsibility for the way that they've polluted the Cape Fear River and the drinking water here in southeastern North Carolina for literally decades. And how their latest legal stunt is to have their legal team file essentially requests for the courts to seal some of the documents which would call them out on the things that they've been doing by claiming that to have those items publicly available would not be in the public interest. And I just want to point out, and I hope that the six of you would agree with me, that because we as a body are responsible in some form for the membership of the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority, who is one of the plaintiffs in that lawsuit, it is in the public interest for us to do our jobs to be able to have this information so that we know if we're appropriately appointing people to those boards, whether the people appointed to those boards are adequately executing those roles, what are they instructing their lawyers to do as it comes to those lawsuits. And so it's fundamentally ridiculous for Meares to continue with these games. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Waddell? Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and the theme this year is Powered by Hope, Strengthened by Prevention. And there are a number of things that we could do to encourage our kids and encourage families to make sure that they prevent child abuse. Just want to remind us of that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rodenberg?
In the 50s and 60s, right across the street, Judge Winfield Smith and Judge Walker got a lot of people's pocketbooks emptied for having improper equipment. That was the charge that they were charged with loud mufflers or whatever. They weren't damaged mufflers, they were just improper equipment for that period. So I don't know how we can't enforce something, but leave that to the legal beagles. The other thing is, I just want to assure Mr. Joyner and everybody else that's listening that the CFPUA has been on top of this to the max since 2018. And if you would like to call Ms. Nicolette Larson, our attorney, I'm sure she would probably be willing to, but when litigation is going on, I can't come down here, nor can Councilmember Waddell, and make a report to where we are. We can't, and everything we do is done in closed session as it pertains to the litigation that's ongoing. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, Ms. Andrews?
April 26th is Wilmington's Earth Day celebration at Longleaf Park, and in honor of Earth Day, Wave Transit is waiving all fares, so it will be free. So if you're transit curious and would like to try out riding the bus that day, you don't have to worry about fares, and head on out to Earth Day or wherever else you want to head that day and try out Wave.
Okay. Spears?
Yeah, just something brief. I was out with my daughter last week on a field trip in an aquarium. A lot of little kids, a lot of adults, and a lot of people just spreading germs, coughing out in the air, not covering their mouths and not coughing into the elbow, and then you factor in pollen and everything else. So sometimes, I mean, you can hear me. I don't know if it's the pollen that got me or the germs, but I mean, people, please do your best to protect the safety and health and well-being of the others that are around you. It's the least you can do.
But this is a resolution, and I've spoken with each individual member of council, so I don't want to say I'm just the one introducing, because I believe we're all unified. We're all unified in opposition to this particular House Bill 765, which was a bill that has been promoted by the Home Builders Association. And I'd like to first of all waive the rules so we can go ahead and read this resolution into the record. I know that cities throughout the state of North Carolina, as we speak, are also in opposition to this because of the taking away of a lot of local government authority. And so we have a motion approved by Councilmember Ravenbach, seconded by Councilmember Waddell. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. I'm going to read the resolution into the record. The resolution opposing House Bill 765 and related bills by the North Carolina General Assembly legislative intent/purpose. Whereas House Bill 765 has been introduced in the 2025 session of the North Carolina General Assembly and would change many aspects of local planning and zoning that would dramatically affect the ability of local governments to serve the will of its citizens. And whereas Chapter 160D of the North Carolina General Statutes, which mandates comprehensive planning and zoning, would be severely eroded by passage of House Bill 765 by diminishing the input and trust of citizens, including those who voluntarily serve on the city's advisory boards. And whereas local governments with input of their citizens can best recognize and enforce the need for planning and zoning ordinances, and whereas House Bill 765 would eliminate the decision-making powers granted to locally elected leaders by their voters, subjecting those officials to legal penalties during routine land use planning decisions and creating unprecedented conflicts of interest rules. And whereas House Bill 765 will create a patchwork of state mandates and ban common sense local land use practices leading to unregulated and incompatible development, undermining housing affordability and damaging existing property values. And whereas House Bill 765 threatens the future of Wilmington's historic district. And whereas House Bill 765 will remove the ability of Wilmington's residents and local officials to pursue our unique vision for our community, which are critical to attracting new residents, new businesses, and maintaining our quality of life. And whereas the City of Wilmington recognizes that local governments are best suited to represent their citizens on local matters, therefore be it resolved that the City of Wilmington urges the North Carolina General Assembly to leave planning and zoning decisions to locally elected boards and their citizens, and that the General Assembly immediately terminate House Bill 765 and similar bills threatening to dismantle local land use planning and regulation. And I will make that motion on behalf of the city, second by Councilmember Waddell. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. So this concludes our regular agenda. Say to our citizens, thank you for taking an interest in your government. We stand adjourned.